Linear equations. Oh, linear equations. We're talking about slopes and everything else. Linear equations are equations that form straight lines, okay, with a slope and a y-intercept. This is y equals mx plus b, right? 4 is where it crosses the line. 1/3 is how much it goes up and over, all right? So slope-intercept form. Basically, the m is slope, the b is the y-intercept, and you could derive an equation if you had the m and the b. Very simplistic. Y equals 3x plus 2. 3 is the slope, 2 is the y-intercept. Okay, so here's a line segment. If you want to do, if you want to talk about the slope, it's rise over run. You find 2 points, and you go up and over from the left. You start from the left. Okay, let me make my 2 points. You start up and over, right? And if it's a downhill line, you go down and over. Okay, so either up and over from the left or down and over from the left. Okay, so this one you would go up 1, right? And then over 3. So the slope is 1/3. So the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, right? It crossed at -1, so the b is -1. So now you just plug it into the slope-intercept formula. So y equals 1/3 x minus 1. Yay. All right, downhill is going to be a negative slope, right? So let's find our 2 points. How about these two? So we're going to go down 3. Remember, you start from the left, you go up and over or down and over, right? So you go down 3. Okay, that's going to be a negative, right? A negative value, -3, and then 2 to the right. Okay, so that'll be +2 on bottom. So the slope is -3/2. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, which is at -3, and then you just plug it in. Y equals -3 halves x minus 3. Okay, horizontal lines have a 0 slope. Okay, a 0 slope. If you plugged a 0 in, 0 times x is what? Oh, it exploded. Okay. Yeah, the 0 kills the x. It disappears. If you don't have an x, then you've got a flat line with a horizon that looks like a sun. The sun is 0, which is the slope. Y equals 0. Y equals 7. If you don't have an x, then it's a flat line, horizontal. Okay? So, y equals -3, y is equal to 5, y is 1, and y is 0. X is gone because 0 killed it. Next, well, horizontal lines, the slope is what? Once again, it's 0. Next, vertical lines have an undefined slope. Undefined, you remember that? And it's the only one that says x equals. All right? And it's where it crosses the x-axis. So the slope of a vertical line is undefined, and you use the x equals the x-intercept. Okay, so wherever it crosses the x-axis is what the name of the x or the equation is. So you say x equals -5, x equals 3, x equals -3, x is equal to 0. Okay, it's the only one that has an x, and it's vertical. Undefined slope. Okay, so next, vertical lines have an undefined slope. All right, same slope lines. What's true about them? If they all go up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1, then aren't they parallel lines? Yes, they're parallel. Slopes that have negative reciprocals, then the lines are perpendicular. You remember? Okay, 3/2, if you flip it and change the sign, some people call them opposite reciprocals. Okay, you flip it over to 2/3 and then change the sign to a negative. If you'd have started here, you'd flip it over to be -3/2 and then change the sign and be positive. So if you see opposite reciprocals where they flip it and change the sign, then you've got perpendicular lines because the slopes are opposite reciprocals or negative reciprocals. Depends on what teacher you had. All right, the formula to find slope. You subtract the y's, subtract the x's. The change in y over the change in x, like they always say. So that's x1, y1, x2, y2. So now you subtract the 2 y's. Okay, that negative and negative is going to be a positive. And you subtract the x's, 6 minus 3. And then that's going to be 6 on top and 3 on bottom, because that was plus, really. And you get 2 for a slope. Okay, so that's the slope formula. All right. And then we use stat edit all the time, and we'll talk about that on the next video. Okay, I'm going to skip this one for right now because I'm going to talk about it in the next video. Well, yeah, I'm going to skip it and talk about it on the next video. All right, let me see. So if m is -3 and -4, 6 is a point, you have a point and a slope, what do? Well, a point and a slope means you use the point-slope formula. All right, so you plug in a 6, right? That's the y1, right? Okay, you plug in the 6, and then you plug in the -3, which is the slope, and then you plug in a -4. So minus a -4 would make that a +4. Minus a -4 makes it a +4. Now you just distribute. Okay, so -3 times x is -3x. -3 times 4 is -12. And then you got to get rid of the -6. So you add 6 to both sides, right? So that cancels, and you get y is equal to -3x minus 6. So we created an equation from a point and a slope. Next, let's do an equation for a line that contains a point and is parallel to this line. Parallel to it. That means that the slope is what? It's going to be the same. So we're going to use m equals 1/2. Okay, so there's my point, there's my slope. Okay, to make it parallel, I use the same slope. Okay, so I'm going to plug stuff in. All right, y1 is this, that's the y1, this is the x1, right? So this 3 comes over here, y minus 3. This is 1/2 because something parallel is 1/2. Okay, and then here we're going to use the x1, which is -4, so minus a -4 is a +4. So now 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. 1/2 times 4 is 2. Then I got to add the 3 so that y is by itself. So I add 3 to both sides, and that cancels, and I get y is equal to 1/2. Okay, so that's if it's parallel. If it's parallel, you just use that same slope that they have in the line, because we need a line that's parallel to this line using this point. And that's what we did is create a line that's parallel to this line using that point. Next, perpendicular. What do you think we're going to do with this slope? What do you think? Yeah, we're going to flip it over and change the sign. It'll be -4 over 1, which is -4. Here's my point. Here's my slope that I'm going to flip over and change the sign. Okay, so there's my point and my slope. And my m, instead of 1/4, because of the perpendicular, I'm going to flip it over, change the sign, and be -4. Okay, so now I do everything exactly the same as before. I use the point-slope formula. Okay, I plug in the -2, which is the y1. Minus a -2 is a +2. Okay, I plug in the slope, which is -4. I changed it and flipped it over, and changed the sign and flipped it over because it was perpendicular. And then I took the 4 and I plugged it in here. Okay, so -4 times x, and -4 times a -4 will give you -4x plus 16 here. Got to get rid of the +2, so I subtract 2 from both sides. That's gone. Y is equal to -4x plus 14. Okay. What if you had a graph and you had a point and they gave you a slope? Couldn't you just do this? Here's my point. My slope is -2/3. So from here I could go down 2 and 3 to the right, and make another point. Then I could draw a line. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, anything else? Yeah, y equals -2/3 x because it went through the center. There's no y-intercept, okay? Well, there is, but it's a 0. Okay, understood to be there. And that's it. Have a great day. Let me turn this thing off. Let me kill it. I want to kill it. Kill it, kill it, kill it.